There are thousands of videos about 100 days in Minecraft and many more videos about 100 days spent in other games, but almost none in Skyrim. I always wondered why, because Skyrim is one of my favorite games. So I had to investigate the problem. As it turns out, one Minecraft day takes 20 minutes of real time and you can sleep through the night. A Skyrim day, however, takes 72. So one Minecraft 100 days video could be 33 hours at max, whilst for Skyrim it would be 120 hours. Almost 4 times as much. But still, I was determined to make this video right here. And on a second look, I realized that it might be way easier than expected. In Minecraft, you can only sleep through the night. But in Skyrim, time skips when waiting, sleeping, using a carriage, a boat, or fast traveling. On day 1 I started in Helgen, as most people do. Of course I went with Ralof, because the Imperials just wanted to kill me for no reason. On my way through the underground, I released my inner hoarder and took everything to sell later.
We'll meet again in Sovngarde, brother. Looks like we're the only ones who made it. That thing was a dragon, no doubt. Just like the children's stories and the legends. The harbingers of the end times. We better get moving. Come here. Let me see if I can get those bindings off. There you go. You may as well take Gunjar's gear. He won't be needing it anymore.
This right here is where this video really starts. In theory, you can level a lot of skills to 100 in the tutorial, but the only good one is sneak. You can either AFK it by walking into a wall close to the bear, or, a method I found while doing this, you can choose a faster way and attack Ralof with a simple dagger. So on day 1, inside the tutorial, I got sneak up to level 100. After leaving Helgen, I activated some strange magic stone, dropped off my stuff in Riverwood, gave the merchant's sister a fake letter in order to win a new friend, and headed to Whiterun. For the first time in my life, I landed a hit on a giant and got a compliment from Ayala. Ayala? I don't really know how to pronounce her name. Then I took the carriage to Windhelm. What do I want in Windhelm? Nothing. Instead, I went to Solstheim. On Solstheim, I met my good friend Glover Mallory and started resetting his inventory by slapping him and reloading the game in order to get a weapon with the Banish enchantment. I would later realize that he only starts selling it if I am level 23 or above. Quite frustrated, I settled for any enchantment I could get. Then I created some iron daggers and went back to Whiterun to meet up with Farengar. After some brawling, he gave me his soul gems. He also agreed to let me use his enchanting table. I unenchanted the weapon and started enchanting my daggers to level up enchanting. Then I sold the daggers to Belethor and realized that I made a big loss. At least I could use Feindal to train some archery when leveling and straight up scam my money back from him. And that's when I got an idea. I needed money. How would I make it? Scam Glover. With another neat exploit, I started selling him his own stuff over and over again, which also leveled my speech skill. Now I could afford more daggers. Back in Whiterun, I was invited to some cult called Dawnguard. You might suspect that it is near Dawnstar, but no, it is on the other side of the map. In Dragon's Reach, I ignored the Jarl as I would do for the next 94 days and kept leveling, enchanting and archery. The next day wasn't any different. Solstheim and scamming Glover for more gold. Only good thing was that I got the Chaos enchantment that would come in handy later. Next, I gave Farengar, I always confuse him with Calcelmo, a good slap for his gems and repeated the process. Later that day, I needed some distraction and decided to become a mage at the infamous College of Winterhold, where one can meet the mightiest wizards that can't even repair their bridge. Maybe I just got addicted to training and spent all my money at Feralda to level Destruction. On day 9, I finally got the Banish enchantment from Glover. It was time to make a good profit while leveling enchanting. Until day 16, I bought iron and leather from Glover to craft daggers and soul gems from Farengar to then enchant the daggers with Banish and resell them to Glover. When leveling up, I paid a visit to Feralda to level Destruction. On day 16, I finally had enchanting level 100. Nothing much happened the next day, besides selling to Glover for the last time. With enchanting at level 100 as a basis, it was time to take some big steps. And these steps led me to Radiant Raiment in Solitude with the cockiest merchants of Tamriel. Before entering Solitude, I got ambushed by a courier who gave me almost a dozen different letters. At Radiant Raiment, I bought enchantments for Fortify Destruction, Alteration, Conjuration, Restoration, Illusion, Smithing, and Alchemy. Do you have any idea where this is going? I realized that I needed a higher alchemy level for my plan to work, so I got some training at my local brewery and put some perks into enchanting and alchemy. When I wanted to make some armor and jewelry to later enchant, the courier visited me with another packet of letters. Besides that, there wasn't any jewelry that day because I bought steel instead of silver. The jewelry at Radiant Raiment was too expensive, so I went back to Whiterun and bought the right bars at Adriana's shop to forge my own. Next on the list was Arcadia to buy all the necessary ingredients for what I had planned. Farengar gave me the grand soulgems to perfect my plan, and I started my Fortify Restoration loop. Actually, the plan wasn't perfect because I didn't have enough ingredients to do it efficiently, and resetting Arcadia for it took way too long. I took the easier route and reset time itself until the point before doing the loop and went to Riften. At the Riften docks are lots of barrels with the fish and salt needed for my Fortify Restoration potions, and I planned to borrow them. The only slight problem was that everyone was staring at me and I couldn't see borrow in peace. Even waiting until nighttime didn't change anything, and I was about to give up when Bohethia blessed me. A cultist showed up to attack me and everyone wanted to protect me. I wanted to show them my appreciation by taking their fish while they were distracted. Day 24 was the day of the Fortify Restoration loop, and it happened as perfectly as planned all along. I didn't only level my alchemy to 100, I also made OP gear with the enchantments I bought earlier and some expensive potions. Nostalgia made me sail to Solstheim, where I bought Mylor's ingredients and sold him my potions to get my money back. Maybe it wasn't just nostalgia, but also the fact that he is the alchemy NPC with the most gold. Of course, there's no Solstheim without Glover. I used his forge and my gear to make a quite unique dagger, which leveled my smithing to 100 instantly, and sold it to Glover for speech 100. Let's say it was the best deal of his life. With the new money I could level destruction, but I failed at pickpocketing my money back. A new problem to fix. I made my way from Solstheim to Riften, where I planned on leveling pickpocket. I slapped an innocent pedestrian and got sent to jail. But I broke out and started leveling at Civi, who can detect you but can't do anything because he's in jail as well. Since I didn't have a lot of gold on me, it was really slow and I decided to get all my gold. Sadly, I was too bad at picking the lock of the chest, so I decided to erase the timeline once again. I made my way from Solstheim to Windhelm, where I planned on leveling lockpicking, but I realized how slow it was. But as always, I had a better plan. In Riften, I felt like I had been there the same day, quite strange. I met some guy called Brynjolf and gave him a helping hand. He invited me to his clubhouse if I survived the way there. If I wanted to survive, I needed to be stronger. So I just made a new OP dagger and went to the club. Inside, I used wax to train lockpicking. After leveling once, I pickpocketed my money back and leveled pickpocket and lockpicking simultaneously. I then decided to just level pickpocket to 100 right here. On the next morning, the days of magic started. First on the list was Conjuration. I went away from Riften to find something dead and cast Soultrap on it, which I had bought from Farengar earlier. Thanks to my Fortify Conjuration gear, it didn't cost me any mana. Nothing much happened, just some scamming Glover and training lockpicking. I was finally ready to become a true mage. And what better place is there to level mage skills other than the College of Winterhold, this time for real. Second skill on the list was Illusion. I went around the college casting Muffle until I reached Illusion level 100 and made some expensive potions for later. Of course, since I was at the college, I trained Destruction at Faralda and sold her the potions to get my money back. Third was Restoration, a valid school of magic as everything else besides necromancy. Step 1 was to go to the midden and find something undead this time and cast Turn Lesser Undead on it. At level 40 I bought Turn Undead to level faster, and at 70 I could finally buy Circle of Protection, which I used until I had Restoration level 100. Since I couldn't train any more Destruction, I went with lockpicking. I needed to be in Riften anyways. Outside of Riften is a place for skooma addicts. I surely did not go there for my addiction, but for the spellbook Telekinesis, which I just wrote wrong for the 69th time. I threw something on the ground, casted Telekinesis on it, and travelled into day 31. I arrived, and my alteration skill was at level 100 instantly. At the Whiterun stables I bought a horse. I planned on torturing it for training purposes, but it was too weak. I had to reset the timeline once again, and started project Get a Horse. In order for my project to work, I had to roast a hag raven in Riften and talk to this very weird kid in Windhelm. Next, I waited for the courier. And waited. And waited even more. Even the guards told me about some murder in Riften, but this time the courier didn't arrive, so I just went to sleep anyways. As it turns out, you don't need the letter. I woke up kidnapped in a random shack and questioned how the hell they brought me from a tavern in Whiterun all the way here. Of course, I paid my debt and got a really bad case of the Stockholm Syndrome. By day 39 I arrived in Falkreath to visit my kidnappers. We talked for a bit and I agreed to visit some other people. In return, I got to meet their necrophiliac clown the next day. Markarth really is a beautiful city, and I even prevented a crime by committing a crime. I met a nice lady and agreed to take care of her problems. Her problem is a bandit living in the ruins of dead dwarves. This time it wasn't on the timeline to be erased. Another successful mission. Almost. I completed it by performing an exorcism on a nice lady because she had suddenly started floating in the air while sleeping. This clown really is a weirdo. Or am I? I had to do some investigation on him, and to do so I cuddled up with his dead grandmother. But even after this sacrifice, I didn't get my horse. I have to visit one more person. I waited for him to go to sleep in order to make it a peaceful experience, but he was too stubborn. After waiting half a day, I decided to make him sleep at any cost. And guess what? I didn't get the horse. Instead, I went on a secret mission to meet someone called Almond Morty. At least, I got to pet a cat on my way. Morty really had some crazy ideas. Told me about some plan, but I had to speak to Astrid first. How do you ask someone if you're allowed to kill the Emperor? Just do it. And surprisingly, she just laughed a little and sent me to Delvin, actually the brother of Glover in the Thieves Guild. After asking Delvin for a loan for some jewelry Morty gave me, I took the opportunity and trained some archery with Niren. Report to Astrid, get a new mission, and actually get something to do. I went to ruin a wedding in Solitude. Well, in reality I just bumped my toe on some gargoyle, but anyways. On my way to the last victim of my journey, there was a minor accident with the Thalmor, but everything went correctly. Back at the hideout, I was told that some things were indeed far from correct. The weird clown, who would have thought, had gone wild. But I got my horse, and they have to wait for at least another 100 days until I had them back. Day 51 was finally the day of torturing my newly acquired horse with ice spells until I reached the Spriggan 100. Then I had a change of plan. Let's give the horse some rest. I went to get a warrior stone and made some decent light armor, heavy armor and a shield. Next, I found myself some company, namely 2 giants, to torture me this time. Sadly, I realized how weak I was. What does one do in this situation? Right, visit Radiant Raymond. I got myself a fancy ring with 45 health and made some slight adjustments to it. I headed back to the giants. Looking back at it, killing them wasn't my smartest move. But I found the most annoying bacon in all of Skyrim. To compensate for the mental pain it gave me, I endured some physical pain. But this time it was on the memory to be too weak. Thus began the search for new giants. They weren't even that far away, and I got myself block level 100 in no time, followed by heavy armor 100. If I wanted to train light armor, I had to use the Thief's Stone, And that's what I did. The kind giants trained me in light armor until I reached level 100 and had fulfilled their purpose. I was yet to know it, but the next few days would be the second hardest on my journey. It was lockpicking time. First, I joined the companions, did some slavery for them, and cracked every display they had. On the bright side of life, they would now train me in one- and two-handed weapons, what I barely used. Second, I went to Markarth to help Samus lad. I could have just gotten his key, but I wanted to do thievery, and thieves don't beg for the key. Inside, I opened every single display and later investigated the bank of Markarth. What the hell is a Wala stone? Must be some anniversary edition witchery. Third was Dawnstar. I had gotten the invitation to a museum there and wanted to see whether they had things locked away. Sadly, the witchery did its thing again and the museum crashed when entering. Maybe they will fix it before the Elder Scrolls 6 releases in 2069. Instead, I went to the Mage College, but they don't have anything to pick, so Windhelm it is, because there you can find some houses with the highest level locks. Fourth, I remember that I was a thief and that I had a guild. And that this guild had some chests just to practice lockpicking. I must say the loot surprised me. Later that day, I spent some time trying to find a skill book unsuccessfully. What a great thief I am. At least I picked every lock on my way. Number 5 is Dragon's Reach. I found quite some locks in the dungeon and in the Jarl's quarters. Speaking of Jarl's quarters, I had to take the emergency exit to escape the guards. I hope they aren't mad at me. Sixth city on the list is Solitude. You can be sure that I broke into every single household that night. I really hate lockpicking. It is the worst skill in the game. I decided to end it in the City of Thieves and was finally free. I crafted a pair of Daedric daggers, a dagger in the maze would have been better, but I can't change it now, and a Daedric greatsword. The college provided a nice bound bullbook for me, and of course I changed my rock to the mighty warrior pebble. The days of Shadowmere's torture began. I started with archery and wondered why it was even slower than normally. Because it is boosted by the Thief Stone. Great job. Anyways, I started with one-handed and grinded it until level 70. I wanted to keep my sanity, so I changed to two-handed for something new. Finally, level 100 two-handed, and back to training one-handed. Level 100 one-handed acquired. Now there is only archery left, so I chose the correct stone and went on the grind until archery 93. Why level 93, you ask? Well, there's a little trick to make this one easier. All you have to do is travel to Falkreath and spend half a decade searching for a shack in the mountains. Angie's Camp. Read the book inside the shack and get 1 archery level. The other 6 can be trained with Angie by doing some easy training. Just aim slightly underneath the target to get it done. I was finally free. Every single skill at 100. But we don't stop there. I can't make a character that has finished all quests, learned all shouts and more in a mere 100 days. But I still want to get as perfect as possible. Now that I had reached level 81, I met the Ebony Warrior in Whiterun. He invited me to a battle and he can be sure to wait at least 1 year until I arrive. Level 81 isn't enough for me. At level 252 you have all perks for all skill trees, but I went even further. Until level 253 to have an even amount of health, stamina and magicka. I mainly used 4 methods to level up fast. The first one is crafting daggers for smithing 100 instantly, making the skill legendary and repeating. Second one is selling the daggers to a merchant and level up speech. The same works with alchemy and any potion, but somehow selling these potions doesn't level speech. The last method is the telekinesis spell, didn't write it correct this time either. I used it for the last levels because it basically skips days, and I didn't want to be at day 250 at the end of this. This day was probably one of the best this video. Putting all the perks into the skill trees is just so satisfying. My base is finished. Now I need to make the exterior. I need some perfect equipment minus the Dunmer boots. The one thing I always do is create a document where I write down every piece of equipment, every enchantment I want, and all I need to enchant it. Where do I get my enchantments? In Solitude. And in Souls time, since Clover sells the best weapon enchantments. What a great day it is. I met Arcadia and got all my ingredients in some Daedric hearts, crafted my armor, a piece of fancy new Daedric plate armor, and my weapons. Harangar sold me his grand soulgems and made a lot of money from me. I forgot to make leather armor and jewelry to loop enchanting and alchemy, so back to the forge it is. Perfect alchemy and smithing armor are first, next come smithing and enchanting potions with said alchemy armor. Enchant all of your armor and weapons as you like. I will put my enchantments into the description if I remember to do so. Finally, I upgraded everything and was done. Done with the equipment to go on an even bigger adventure to maximize this character's potential. I had heard that they are reforming the Dawn Guard, vampire hunters of some sort. I had to join them and was immediately sent on my first mission. For this mission, I fought through some filthy vampires and met an anonymous woman, maybe called Yennefer. I knew that I was going to betray the Dawn Guard the day after I met her. Polite as I am, I escorted her home. On the way there, I realized that I had something learned, the LGBTQ Dragonborn run. It was just fitting to meet Daddy Harkin. As I had thought, I betrayed the vampire hunters by becoming a filthy vampire. I stole Harkin's personal skooma and went on a quest for the children of the night. Who would have thought that this brings me back to Redwater then? I came prepared, sipped the skooma, got drunk, went on my first rampage and filled some thingy they gave me. I reported back as I am used to after all these quests, and Harkin told me to catch a beekeeper of some sort. But I didn't care. All I wanted was Serrano as a follower. Today I did a quest the companions gave me about 25 days ago. May have involved some violence. It gave me the opportunity to go on an adventure with Farkas and Ciri. Felt like a little family fighting under Nord. Maybe I got distracted and trapped myself, but Farkas turned into a giant dog and handled the situation while Serrana was staring at me. The companions honored my doing, and thankfully as they are, they sent me to kill an old lady. Now this is thankfulness. They offered me the chance to become a werewolf. Sadly, that means that I can't be a vampire anymore. Wrong. I equipped my vampire lord form. Then I drank the werewolf blood and activated my power at the same time. I became a werewolf, teleported outside the cave, turned into a vampire, and used my powers to revert my form. Next, I asked Skyrim, waited outside, to turn me back into a vampire. Hybrid achieved. I waited some time, and the magic of Electro-Doodle transported me into the wilderness. At this point, the true rampage began. I turned into a werewolf and slaughtered everything on my way. I kept leveling my perk tree by feasting on the internal organs of my foes and unlocked every single perk. Day 87 was Vampire Day. I traveled to the other end of Skyrim to find new life to slay and leveled that skill tree as well. Turns out the Dawn Guard aren't too happy to see me these days. But I am a master thief now. I infiltrated their home and stole a certain amulet. After some brawling, I got a new follower. We went to the right-hand gate. There I dropped the amulet and told her to pick it up. I went through the gate, fast traveled back into Whiterun, and there it was, on the ground again. And in the follower's inventory. I just needed to repeat this until I had 5 of them. After all this killing, I needed to do some good and clear my mind. So I visited the Temple of Mara and offered them my help. I made a village romance happen, might have accidentally started a war in Riften and erased that part of the story. Then I got to finally meet my idol Carl Selmo and got his crush to like him with the help of another guy's poem. Quite strange. While doing all this, I saw an old guy cleaning the floor with a broom made of air. Even weirder. Maybe Carl Selmo isn't the mightiest wizard. Oh, and I got some new clothing. I even decided to collect clothing. A new day, a new set. The Dawn Guard was so nice to bring me a third set for my collection when I was helping the dead Romeo and Juliet. After spreading all my kindness over Skyrim, I received Mara's blessing, one of the 4 permanent effects I'm going after. The kindness doesn't stop. I even let myself get caught while stealing a statue to get a new quest. I was going to rescue a child. I realized that I had slaughtered the child's entire village some day earlier. I was glad to find the last soul inside the mine. But I had also done good. On the same rampage, I had cleared out the tower where the girl was being kidnapped. I kidnapped the girl instead, as I had learned from Astrid, and brought her to the weird cult without her parents' consent. All this to receive Diabella's blessing. I met an undead lizard lady who gave me a dwarf book. It wasn't even that small. To redeem her spirit or something, I fought through a ruin and gave the book back to the librarian. Ancient knowledge is what I received. I remember the last effect from my first playthrough, and it still gives me goosebumps. Not only because I spent several hours searching the lighthouse. Inside, I collected material for the next years of nightmares, rescued a skull, and threw it into the fire to get the sailor's response. My journey ended. Only one thing was left to be done. Remember the amulets from earlier? I took them and a follower outside the city. There I gave them the accessories and turned into a vampire while simultaneously talking to them. This allows me to equip the jewelry directly from their inventory. After reverting my form, I still have all 5 amulets equipped and a total shout time reduction of 100%, which means that I can now infinitely cast the shouts I don't have. But that is something left for another 100 days. The last day I did nothing. I just spent my time on a rock, looking back at everything I had done and achieved in these past days.